Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. Jaime En Fuego here, welcoming you to my namesake program once more, Enfuegotainment. Rapido Fuego review, y'all, and talking the recently released film that just hit Amazon Prime after a very limited stint in theaters, and it is none other than The Electrical Life of Louis Wain.
Louis Wain special! Look, there he is!
You're cat man.
Cat man.
A whole cat world. They will turn blue and communicate with us in our own language.
Did you say that they would turn blue?
Yes, of course.
Wow. What's going on in that funny little head of yours?
Starring Benedict Cumberbatch, yeah, so none other than Dr. Strange himself, and you know, he was Sherlock Holmes, and he's a very prolific British actor, and he brought to life in this film one of the most eccentric and interesting in a lot of ways artists of the late 18 and early 1900s in Louis Wain. And it's a whimsical movie at times, it's a tragic movie at times, it is a trippy movie at times as well. For anybody who is familiar with Wain's artistic style, he was notoriously kind of mentally ill, and it does come out in some of his stuff, but he made a name for himself despite all of his strangeness with his affinity for the gatos, that's right, for the felines, for cats. And unbeknownst to me, while watching this film with Lady Catherine, I did not have any idea that pets, at least as far as the Western world, being like the United Kingdom and the US and stuff like that, they weren't really inclined to have felines as pets. At least until, like, I guess around the 20th century, but it was really dogs, and that's about it, man. You know, obviously you think of like Egypt and Japan, and most of Asia had been keeping them as pets for centuries, if not thousands of years. And so the affinity that Wain had, which was brought about by his wife, which was played by Claire Foy, and I mean, they have terrific chemistry, and it's very cute, the relationship that they foster, and how cats essentially bring them even closer together, and as some strife just very randomly arises within their relationship, health problems and financial problems and different things of that nature, cats really just kind of keep them together and keep Wain as close to mentally stable as possible with these beautiful paintings that he did. And I had heard the name thrown around, but I can't say I really knew much about him, his life, and since I'm more of a dog person than a cat person as it is, it was very fascinating to see his love and his affinity and all of that stuff just basically coalesce and come together. And I've seen a ton of his paintings, whether the one that I had up in my gaming room that had like a pool table and we played cards and various stuff like that, but I guarantee that most of you, if not the complete lot of anybody stumbling upon this review, has seen at least some of his work, whether the, you know, very silly and kind of whimsical is the word that I keep coming back to, because he would like put like pants and, you know, little monocles and stuff. I mean, basically make these cats up to be acting like people. Then there were the trippier things that he did where it was almost like a cornucopia, kaleidoscopic color sort of approach, and that stuff is very, to quote Jim Morrison, psychedelicized. So I was very impressed with Benedict's performance. He's terrific in pretty much anything, but he was great. Claire Foy, who I have enjoyed in most that I have seen her in, she's great as well. And yet Cumberbatch as Wain, he's got these 5 sisters, and he also has his mother. And so his father has passed away, and he essentially has to step in and basically just not only try to run the family, which he doesn't, the oldest sister does, she's the real matriarch, but he's got to be the breadwinner, and he has to basically work and support all of these women, and all of them are attempting to find suitors and get married and settle down to no avail. None of them have any possible prospects, and that just gets even worse as one of them is actually diagnosed as having dementia and carted away to a mental institution. And so that just gives there more of like that just bad reputation for the family in general, and hinders the possibility of these girls being married off even more so. So that's rather tragic. And Benedict's character, Louis, he decides to kind of not so much turn his back on his sisters and his mom, but he does follow his heart, so to speak, with Claire Foy's character. She is a governess that is hired to assist with the education of the younger sisters, because at least when the movie starts in the late 1800s, they're still, they're adolescents, they're kids still, whereas, the couple older siblings, and they're at least definitely old enough to be married or to be working or something, but, not of the tradition at the time, obviously. So, yeah, Claire's character is there as a governess, and she strikes up a friendship that becomes romantic with Louis, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and he decides to follow his heart and continue, fronting those bills for his sisters and his mom, but he does go off to get married and have a life despite still supporting them. And there's a resentment, most notably with the eldest sister, that just permeates for years and years, even as his esteem and notoriety is rising with, he's publishing just, these books of these delightful pictures, and like the National Cat Society, or I don't know, Society of Cat Lovers or something. It was a British institution in the late 1800s when it was still very, I guess, passé to have cats as pets and stuff, that they make him like an honorary president at one particular point. So yeah, his stock is rising, and yet it's not yielding perhaps as much monetarily as most notably the eldest sister would like. So yeah, she bitches it up pretty hardcore, and she's believable in that regard. The rest of the sisters, they're a little more indifferent and not, dare I say, supportive, but they're not really vindictive to the degree that that oldest sister is. And the mother, her health is kind of up and down, and so she's not as in play as you might expect, being a parent and whatnot. But yeah, the story was fascinating and yet also sad because of the fact that you do get a little bit of the backstory, albeit in the dream sequences here and there, and also as the mental health of Louis is deteriorating, you find out some of the stuff that happened that traumatized him as a child, why he might be having these issues still, why they could be increasing, and yet the dichotomy of some of the aspects of negativity within his life are counterbalanced with the fact that he is able to purge some of those inner demons, so to speak, by doing these lovely, cute little paintings of cats. It's endearing in that regard, and yeah, I am just ever better, I suppose, for somebody who had a very unique talent and yet still had negative thing after negative thing kind of befall them, and so that was unfortunate. But our best art a lot of the time does come out of that sort of strife and those sort of trying situations. You get knocked down to get back up, as the old cliche kind of goes, and yet it just continues to kind of happen. The friction continues, and yet the perseverance, even in the face of all of this different stuff, really endeared him as a character to me. And even though I'm not a cat person, I still was blown away by the extent of the talent on display here, and performances, the filming, the extent of the cast. You've got Nick Cave in like a scene as H.G. Wells in this, which is interesting. You've got a very, very brief cameo by Taika Waititi. I think he only had like one speaking line, maybe two, but yeah, I thought that when I saw him listed on the IMDb, he was going to have a little bit more to do, but no, such is not. And yeah, but it's beautifully shot, costuming is great, the recreation of late turn of the 20th century London is terrific, and the fact that they're like, yeah, it stinks and all this other stuff, but there was an electricity about the area at the time, and so hence the title, and all of the just oddness of Louis' character as we just learn more and more about him. Still, the fact that he had a sweetness to him, I think it's definitely going to make him much more interesting and just much more relatable to anybody who decides to check this out exclusively on Amazon Prime as of just earlier this week. So if you feel inclined, this is one that I totally recommend. It is a dramedy in every way, shape, or form. It's a dramatic comedy with a little bit of the psychedelia to it, which I appreciated too. So I am going to give this 3 out of 5 Fuego Fireballs. This is a very solid bueno. And yeah, hop over to Amazon, put your Prime to work, and check it out if you feel so inclined. So, I've been Jaime En Fuego. You can find me on all social media sectors, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on the YouTubies. Most recently, I did reviews of the Kay Stizzy movie Spencer, which is a kind of fictionalized take on Princess Diana. Terrific performance, one of the best I've seen this year. The recent Ridley Scott movie, The Last Duel, Marvel's Eternals, latest from Wes Anderson, The French Dispatch. So there's lots of new stuff to check out here on my channel since I relaunched it in November following the spooky season on The Horror Show. And yeah, that's going to be the end of the proceedings for today, y'all. So until the Reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, cinemigos constant. Viewers and occasionally readers alike, say thank you. I hope we have been well met and that we share more of this film palaver sooner rather than later. And in this case, remember that you can certainly stay home and watch something of theatrical quality in The Electrical Life of Louis Wain.